Welcome, everybody, to the Growing Truth Network's weekly show, Indianapolis Colts Weekly. I'm one of your co-hosts, Steve Risley, along with my illustrious brainchild of the Colts and future Hall of Fame broadcaster somewhere down the road, I'm sure, Cole Hanna. And we're going to take time right now to review the Colts' gritty win over the Atlanta Falcons, containing Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. With a solid defensive effort that bent and didn't break, even without Darius Leonard, and got things done and moved to the top, or tied for the top, in the AFC South when most all people then, when Andrew Luck left, predicted him to finish at the bottom. Cole, let me ask you this question. You started out. Are we missing Andrew Luck at all?
Yeah, obviously, anytime you lose a player like Andrew Luck, you're going to tend to feel it over the course of a 16-game season. And I think you can make an argument at times, even though Jacoby Brissett was very good, throughout the first two games, there were a couple scenarios where you kind of look back and said, maybe, man, if we had Luck there, we could have been, done something special in that game. But I think if you look at this Atlanta Falcons game in a nutshell, I don't think they don't gain anything if they swap out Brissett for Andrew Luck in this game. I mean, I truly don't believe you'd be looking at any better quarterback play. It's very, very difficult to play better than what Jacoby Brissett did for the Colts this past week. I mean, 28 of 37, 310 yards, 2 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. He had one drive all game that resulted in no points. Now, he did have a drive at the end of the game that did not result in points either, but, that's when 4 minutes left, they milked the clock. They were knocking on the red zone for the on that final drive of the game. But obviously, with the clock situation, they just elected to run that clock out, but they were in scoring position at the end of that drive. So, really, it was a dominating performance, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about last week. We've seen the dominant running game from Indianapolis. We've seen that. Now, Jacoby Brissett's been very good. He's taken what the defense has given him, but we haven't seen the explosive plays in the passing game. We haven't seen him beat anybody with his arm. It's really just been the running game for Indianapolis. That's been what they've stuck with through these first two games, and that's really how they've, arguably you could argue they should have beaten the Chargers week one, and then against Tennessee, it was really the big run plays they were able to rip off at the end of that game that helped them secure the victory there. But the Falcons game was the first one where we saw the Colts win a game purely off the arm of Jacoby Brissett. Now, the running game wasn't bad. And, as a team, they struggled. 24 carries for 79 yards. That's just 3.3 yards per carry. Marlon Mack, though, had a pretty good game, ripped off a couple, nice runs at the end of that game, finished 16 carries for 74 yards, and a pretty big touchdown there in the second half. But really, it's kind of what we talked about. We wanted to see Jacoby Brissett prove that he can kind of take over a game with his arm. Because when he puts that on tape, then the Colts just become so tough to defend. Because now you got to respect Jacoby Brissett's arm, but you got to respect the dominant running game of Marlon Mack and company. And with what they did against Atlanta, they've now proven with Brissett at quarterback that they can throw the ball a lot. They can rely on Brissett at quarterback, and they can win football games that way. So very, very encouraging performance offensively. And at least for one game, I thought Brissett was every bit as good as you would expect Andrew Luck to be out there.
Well, you say that. I mean, but there's balance here now. I mean, we were all concerned because we were rushing. We had a running game going on. All of a sudden, Brissett comes in and throws 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no real mistakes. How much of this is on Brissett, and how much is this on Frank Reich keeping his team together and keeping them within their spectrum of the ability to do what they do best, and that's ball control, move the chains, get up and down the field, chew up time on the clock, and march up and down. You've got with Brissett showing what he showed against, a very tough Atlanta Falcons team, that he can control the ball and move it up and down the field and not make big play Ray plays. I mean, you look at Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. That's a big play Ray team. They're waiting for Aaron to throw the bomb to somebody deep, and and kind of. You could almost say New England, but although New England does the same thing really with Edelman too, they kind of just throw under everybody and say, we'll chew you up. And the Colts have kind of gotten into that mentality. How much of that is on Frank Reich and how much of that is on Brissett and the running game and combining it and keeping it fair balance and throwing the defense totally in disarray because they don't know what to cover now. Now you got a passing game to go with your running game because the Colts are in the top 5 in running game in the NFL right now. We'll go over those stats here in a minute when we get to that part of it. But what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much all the above there. I mean, I know you touched on a few different points there. I definitely think Frank Reich is the real deal. I mean, there was a few plays he drew up there that just completely fooled the defense. I mean, you had guys running down the field, no one within 15 yards of them. I'm thinking that Zach Pascal touchdown in the first half where they, it was just a brilliantly designed play with a little fake screen to Hines coming out of the backfield. Defense bid on it, and you had Pascal, running down the sidelines wide open for an easy touchdown pass. I mean, that's just great play design from Frank Reich. And this is nothing new. We saw this last year with Andrew Luck. We saw how explosive of an offense the Colts were at times last year with Frank Reich. I just think he's the real deal head coach. He deserves a ton of credit for this. And anytime you lose a guy like Andrew Luck and you have to slot in a new quarterback and you're kind of able to keep the offense going right where it left off, the head coach has to get a ton of credit there. And rightfully so. I think you also have to credit the running game. I think the running game set up a lot of this stuff. We've talked about it. With what they put on tape those first 2 weeks.
No doubt. Yeah.
With such a dominant running game, teams were going to have to play the run game hard. I mean, especially Atlanta, when you look at what they did week 1 against Minnesota, where they really kind of got carved up by the running game. You knew coming into this game they were going to be game playing. Okay, we can't let Marlon Mack beat us. Let's make Brissett beat us with his arm. And we talked. It's like I mentioned earlier. We talked about. It's like I mentioned earlier. We talked about this, the past couple of weeks with how they're running the football. That's going to set up the play action, and that really set it up pretty nicely today. On play action passes for Brissett in this game, he went 11 of 15 for 163 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. I mean, they really had the play action going. A lot of explosive plays, and this one came off play action because all you have to do is freeze those DBs for a second. And when you have a dominant running game like they have with Marlon Mack, those guys are freezing eyes in the backfield. Give credit to Brissett. He sold it well. And then you got, receivers streaking down the field wide open. And they were able to get some explosive plays that, maybe they were lacking the first couple of weeks. They didn't have, the big explosive plays. We started to see more of those against Atlanta, specifically coming off the play action. And, like you said, with what they've put on tape now against Atlanta, they're going to be a tough team to game plan because now they've proven, okay, you're going to play the run, you're going to play to stop the run. Okay, we can beat you with Brissett's arm. That's perfectly fine. He's more than capable of doing that. He proved that this week. Obviously, you want to see him be consistent. You want to see him be able to do that week after week. Set a new standard for his level of play. But this one game was very, very encouraging.
Well, have we seen an inconsistency in him yet? I mean, he's performed.
No,
the first 2 games, we dominated the running game. We ran for 250 yards and 190 yards or 180 yards, something like that second game, and now we run for 46. But we throw for 303 yards or whatever his final total was. He completes his first 16 passes.
Yeah.
T.Y. gets a couple touchdowns. You still got Ebron and Doyle out there as tight ends, just running amok underneath everybody. And I'm amazed in watching the game, and I'm amazed at how much defensive backs bite on the play action. But I think it's because they respect the Colts' running game is what I think. I think if you get into a team like, say, a Green Bay where you're living off of Aaron Rodgers' arm, I don't think they respect the running game that much. They don't bite. But when you've got the running game with Marlon Mack and his group of, Merry Bandits back there, the no-name backfield, for the most part, you've got to respect it, and you've got to play up. And you've got that offensive line. It's probably the most dominant offensive line in the NFL right now. I don't know who's got a better offensive line than we do. We got to keep them healthy. There's no doubt. But has there been a flaw in Brissett's game? Have you seen any flaw in his game?
Yeah, I don't think there's any glaring flaws. I don't think there's anything you look at that's a major cause for concern. If you want to nitpick, I think you can specifically. I think you saw it a little bit against the Tennessee. When they played Tennessee week 2, when you go back and watch kind of the all-22 film and kind of look at what the defense was giving him, he was a little hesitant to make some throws down the field that maybe he could have made. That could have been some explosive plays farther down the field. And maybe you can nitpick and say there's a couple plays where if he anticipated the guy coming out of the route better, he could have, instead of checking it down, he could have had a guy deeper down the field. Those are minor nitpicks. It's tough to complain about a guy taking what the defense gives him, about a guy taking, what he feels comfortable taking and maybe not forcing a ball down the field and racking up interceptions. It's tough to really, nitpick him over that. But that's,
right.
Those are the kind of throws that elite-level quarterbacks in this league make, and they're so good at anticipating guys. They're not necessarily throwing to an open man. They're just throwing to a spot. And, that guy's going to get open. And they obviously have the expectation of where that guy's going to be at his route. So I think you could look at Brissett and say there's definitely room he can improve, especially in Week 2 against Tennessee with some of those concepts. Reading defenses a little bit better. But then I think you saw him improve on those very things this week. You saw him get a lot better at those same concepts. So, the Colts were always going to be in an interesting situation without Andrew Luck, obviously searching for the next quarterback. But with what Brissett's given you through these first 3 weeks, I don't see how you can't feel very, very confident moving forward with Brissett at quarterback. And he's still a young guy. We got to remember, this guy's 26 years old. This is really only his second year in the league in terms of, starting reps for him. So he's a young and pretty inexperienced guy overall in terms of actual game reps. So he's just going to keep getting better and better with time. And he's already given you, I think, a very, very high level of play, at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and I think this all falls on Frank Reich. I think he's doing the right thing. He's keeping his team, he's keeping them in the circle of confidence. And there was actually, I'm on ESPN, and they were talking about how much the players were thrilled with his kind of unique play calling. They were building confidence. The players said, "Hey, coach has got confidence. Let's get this done." And things of that nature. And you've got now, all of a sudden, you've got Pascal and you've got Campbell. The receiving core is getting very strong again. It's almost back to the days of when you had Harris and Reggie Wayne. They're almost getting back there again. You got multiple targets now, so you can't double team T.Y. all the time. T.Y. caught 8 passes for, 65 yards. Okay, not a lot of yardage, but they were important passes. I mean, he made the big plays. But you have to cover him one-on-one now because you have to respect Campbell, and now you got to respect that Pascal. You have to respect those two guys now. You can't leave them alone. So great drafting and great, position drafting by the Colts. Great coaching. Offensively, they look very solid. The offensive line, we just got to keep the offensive line healthy. Ryan Kelly's prone to injury. I think Quentin Nelson may be arrested for murder before long. He's finally going to take somebody's head off eventually. We got to keep Costanzo. He'll get that left side healthy. And I think that Brissett is playing within himself so much. And Marlon Mack still, despite the 300 yards that he threw for, still gets 74 yards rushing. So, when you got a quarterback throwing for 300 and some odd yards and doing how they run their offense on the short yardage situation and the play action passing, you're not going to get 170 yards a lot of times. Now, especially now that everybody respects the Colts rushing game. So those yards are going to be a lot tougher to come by now. So I have not seen the Colts really show me any – I don't think they're the best team in the NFL by far. I think New England right now is playing the best football of any team in the NFL right now, and maybe Los Angeles right behind them. But and Dallas is looking strong. But I think the Colts are a top 6 or 7 team right now in their offensive efficiency and getting things done. And we'll go through the stats here. Again, I pulled off of Twitter a ranking of all the teams and where the Colts fit in on everything. And they're ranked high on almost every statistical category in terms of third down conversions, yards gained per rush, whatever. They're doing good offensively. So, again, you don't ever want to lose an Andrew Luck. I mean, the guy was a mastermind and genius at the quarterback position. But I don't think the Colts have fallen off much at all with Jacoby Brissett. I really don't think they do. If they keep him in check and keep doing what they're doing, I think the Colts are going to be a playoff team and maybe not a Super Bowl contender. I don't know. Time will tell. It's only 3 weeks into the season, so it's hard to say that. But I think they're going to be a team that nobody wants to play is what I think they're going to become. And they're probably already there right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. Like you said, it's just week 3. You kind of want to see them, be consistent. Yeah. You look at the beginning of last year, that team started out 1-5 and then really hit their stride down the stretch. There's a lot of football left to be played. This season isn't even close to being over, but definitely very, very encouraging start from this team. They do have, I think, a couple weaknesses you look at moving forward and some issues to monitor. A couple injuries now. We can talk about that later. But
we'll talk about that,
Yeah, all in all, I think it's very, very encouraging. I think you said at the start of the show, a lot of people started to count out this team when Luck retired, and I think now people are starting to do a 180 and say, okay, hang on, let's not count out this team just yet.
No.
This team, I think, without a doubt, is going to be in the playoff conversation come the end of the season. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I'm not sure it's the most talented team in the AFC South. I think it's the most efficient team in the AFC South right now.
I think it's the most well-coached team in the AFC South.
Well-coached and efficient, right. Yeah. They're efficient. They get the most out of whatever they've got on the field. And now with the foundation of their passing game, with Brissett throwing for 300 yards, now you've got to respect his arm. And now that backs up the pressure off the running game, and you're going to see Marlon Mack and his band of merry murderers go back there and run the ball, and that offensive line is going to make holes like there's no tomorrow. I mean, they're going to open holes. These guys know where to find the holes and go through it. So it's fun. It's really fun. All right. Anything else offensively? I think the team's in solid shape. I don't think this is a team that could easily, had it not been for Adam Vinatieri getting off to a bad start to the season, this is a team that could be 3-0 very easily. I mean, very easily. They should be 3-0. This is a team that should be 3-0 right now. But, it happens. I mean, one bad game and 46 years of a life and 20-some-odd years in kicking, you don't grill somebody for that. And speaking of him, he went 5 for 5. I think he kicked, 2 field goals and 3 extra points, nailed them all, although he doinked one off the goalpost. But it went in.
Had a scare there, definitely. But hey,
it went in. So his luck is changing. It didn't doink out; it doinked in. So,
yeah.
But do you think he's back? You think that was a big confidence boost for him? You think our kicking game's back, or should we still be thinking about looking for a kicker?
Well, Frank Reich is going to continue, with the utmost confidence in Adam Vinatieri. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's been firmly behind Vinatieri the entire season, even when he was at his low point, after the Tennessee game. But definitely a much better performance. I mean, like you said, he hit a 49-yard field goal, which is now a chip shot. It did kind of bounce off the crossbar. I think you can definitely tell he didn't hit that quite the way he wanted to. But it went in, which is all that matters at the end of the day. You hit another kind of very, very short chip shot, field goal, but with how he was playing the first couple of weeks, that was far from a gimme. He was able to hit that easily, made all of his extra points. So definitely a better performance. I think Vinatieri would be the first guy to tell you in that 49-yard field goal, hey, I didn't hit that, the best way. I didn't hit that the way I wanted to, and I need to be better moving forward with that. But at the end of the day, man, I don't care how he hits them. Just make the field goals. Just be a reliable field goal kicker.
No style points. No style points in kicking field goals.
No.
Just get to the upright.
Don't care how.
This is not modeling. There's no style points.
Yeah. So just get it to the upright. Don't care how.
Get to the upright. Get the points. Move on.
He was able to do that against Atlanta. Now, obviously, kind of similar to what we talked about with Brissett, you got to continue to be able to do this. You got to be consistent. You can't have bad kicking games every other week, and this is just one game in a vacuum. And in the same way you said don't overreact to one bad game or a couple bad games, you can't overreact to one good game from Vinatieri where he does what he needs to do. He just needs to be consistent moving forward, encouraging that he was able to, kind of get back on track. That it was a cool scene when he came out for the 49-yard field goal where, Lucas Oil Stadium, pretty much every fan in the stadium was standing up and cheering for him.
Cheering him on, I saw that.
Trying to get behind him moving forward.
Right.
And he did what he needed to do. Hopefully he continues to do that. I think the Colts, if he continues to struggle, if he goes back to the Vinatieri the first couple of weeks, they're obviously going to have to look at a kicking change. But hopefully this performance is kind of a new turn for him, that he's kind of exercised those demons, so to speak, and he's going to be a lot better moving forward.
Yeah, what you don't want is for our kicking game to be a liability. I mean, you want it to be, at 46 years old, automatic or not, I don't know if we're there. I don't know if we're ever going to get there at 46 years old where it's going to be automatic like it was when he was 36 years old. But you don't want it to be a liability. And this week kind of took me out of that realm of, okay, our kicker's a liability. Right now he's neutral. He did what he was supposed to do. He made the points, 5 of 5, got his job done, and we eke out a win. And that's good. And, if we had done this against the Chargers, like I said, we'd be 3-0.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a wake-up call for him, and he's redirected his energies. And I applaud Frank Reich for sticking with him. And, again, I just think Frank Reich right now has got to be, at this early point of the game, I'd say he's up for Coach of the Year right now. Now, it's going to change. It's all going to change. But right now, the job he's done with these Colts, losing Andrew Luck, 2 weeks before the season starts, and having to insert a new quarterback in, and the way that Brissett has played, that's all on his shoulders, and he's done a marvelous job of that, and his staff. They've gotten everybody ready to play. Okay, defensively, I thought this defensively. We didn't have Darius Leonard. He's out. He's on concussion protocol. We don't know if he'll be back next week. We don't know. You never know about concussion protocol. We lost Hooker, didn't we?
Yeah, Hooker torn meniscus in the game.
He's out.
He played through a
4 to 6 weeks
torn meniscus
minimum
in the game. So don't know. 4 to 6 weeks is the expected timetable.
Yeah. So we're now down. But I thought our defense bent. But you're going against Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. They didn't break. They bent, and we had a nice comfortable lead, and then they ran us back up on us, but that team held its ground, and that team stepped up to the plate and did what they needed to do. They put pressure on the quarterbacks. How many sacks did they end up getting?
I think
no sacks for them.
0 sacks, yeah.
We had 1 for 10, yeah. So we didn't get any sacks, which again still bodes to me that we've got to. Man, if we had some money, we had an opportunity to get somebody in there that's a pass rusher that can get in there and put pressure on the quarterback more than we're getting. Because Ryan threw for 304 yards. We gave a lot of yardage, but he threw 3 touchdown passes, and he had a great game too. Quarterback rating of 121 versus 118 for Brissett. So, but our defense bent, but it did not break down. And talk about that.
Yeah, really, defensively, it was kind of a tale of two halves in this game. The first half, I thought, was exactly what the Colts wanted to do, which is kind of a bend but don't break defense, but they were able to make some key plays to get off the field. Obviously, Clayton Geathers, interception down in the red zone was a huge, huge play, big momentum changer. They only gave up 3 points in the first half. So, obviously, tremendous performance. They're up 20-3 going into halftime. So really all 3 phases at that point were playing the way you'd like to see them play. Now you kind of got into the second half, and I don't know exactly what happened. It seemed to me that the Colts kind of went into kind of a softer zone when they got in the second half, probably trying to make Atlanta, eat up some more clock, on their possessions, because at that point, when you're down 20-3, they have to score a lot of points in a short time span. So I think that was probably the thought process. But whatever happened there, Atlanta really moved the ball a lot more efficiently. And I think maybe the absence of Malik Hooker was kind of felt there because Matt Ryan was kind of throwing all over you. And Hooker was pretty much missed all of the third quarter, came back into the fourth quarter and played through a torn meniscus. So I don't know how he managed to do that, but he did somehow. Right now he'll be down, like we said, 4 to 6 weeks most likely.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who fills Hooker's role now? Who they've got to come in? And do they have anybody to back up?
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to go with Kerry Willis moving forward. He's a rookie out of Michigan State. They drafted him. They really liked him. Actually, the past couple weeks, they've kind of had him filling in for Clayton Geathers, and they've kind of been splitting snaps at the safety position and sometimes been on the field at the same times in certain sub-packages. But with Hooker down, it sounds like they're just going to slot Willis into that free safety role. that Malik Hooker occupied. And I do know they are big Kerry Willis fans. I mean, huge fans of him. Think he'll be a really, really good player down the line. But he's just a rookie. You're going to have some growing pains over these next few weeks, I think, with him in there. But you can definitely see the talent with him that he possesses. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Do they go more to a zone defense or they stay man-to-man? I would think with, kind of an unproven safety, you probably want to play a little bit more zone, I would think. You know better than me. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, Eberfluss is a zone guy. He likes to play zones. That's going to be what they're going to continue to do moving forward. They're obviously going to mix some man-to-man coverage schemes in there because they do have a couple corners, I think, in Rocky Sin and Quincy Wilson there on the outside that really are probably, at least coming out of college, we're looking at as more, man-to-man cover scheme guys. So I think you'll see them go into some man-to-man packages. And in this day and age, you have to play man-to-man on certain packages. You can't get away with zone with some of these quarterbacks. I mean, I'm looking at Kansas City. That's a game that's going to be really tough to win playing zone. 95. It's going to be tough to win no matter what you do. But, Patrick Mahomes will carve up the zone. Yeah, easily.
He'll carve up the zone, yeah. He'll throw under you all day long and take it.
Exactly. That's definitely what they're going to have to do, though, moving forward, play a lot of zone. So now you have Kerry Willis. You're looking at, it's a rookie. He's going to be playing a lot of snaps. Rocky Sin at corner, another rookie, going to be playing a lot of snaps. So you've got some young guys in the secondary. And then Bobby Okereke, I thought, played decent for them against Atlanta. But, again, another rookie linebacker. He could be in next week against Oakland as well. Again, like you said, we don't know what the status of Darius Leonard is. He's still in the concussion protocol. So he just has some hurdles to clear.
Not likely.
And, it's pretty cut and dry in the concussion protocol. You've got to get, you've got to clear every hurdle, and once you clear those, you'll be good. But there's no shortcuts with that. You've got to clear everything. So,
I remember when Randy Gregory, defensive tackle for the Cowboys, cold-cocked Ross as the scout team quarterback, and he concussed him badly. And Ross went on the sideline and took a knee for one play and went back in, and Ross said he didn't know what planet he was on. That was before all, Ross. I mean, Ross is a tough kid, but he lifted. Ross is all of 6'4". I think he lifted him 6'8" off the ground, and he got yelled at for hitting the quarterback. Obviously, but Ross went over. He stumbled over, took a knee for one play, and came back into the JV team or the scout team, whatever he was running against the varsity defense. And he said, I don't remember anything after the hit. I remember nothing. I don't remember going home because he had his own car. Like he drove himself home. I'm like, holy cow. I was at the practice. I just had to go drive by and watch the practice. And I said, oh, that's got to hurt. But then Randy Gregory is a genius anyway, isn't he? He's a rocket surgeon, far and above.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so defensively, do you see any weaknesses in our defense right now? I still think the defensive line needs to get stronger and better. I like our linebacking core. They cover well on the short plays. We definitely need Leonard back. Our defensive safety, again, our secondary, I think they're aggressive. They're spunky. They're inexperienced, but they go after it hard, and they're willing to break up plays. And they're being well coached because I'll go through the stats here in a minute. The Colts are the second in the NFL in the fewest penalties committed. And so it means they're well coached. They're getting to the ball. They're breaking the plays up. They're doing things they do. What is your observation of the defense overall for the Colts right now?
Yeah, I got to give it probably a B- at this point. They've been solid. They've made plays, very, very good against Tennessee. I thought they had some shaky moments week one against the Chargers, some more shaky moments against Atlanta, specifically in that second half. I think, like you said, the defensive line can be an area of concern. The Falcons' running game was not a running game that had really been putting up big numbers, through the first 2 weeks. Devontae Freeman kind of got going against Indianapolis. Those 16 carries for 88 yards for him in this one. Finished 20 carries for 93 yards as a team.
But the question is, were they important yards? Were they important yards? I mean,
and that's a fair question to ask. There were some important runs that he was able to rip off. But, especially – and to be fair, when you're down 20-3 going into the second half, you kind of got to.
You're not going to run the ball,
right? Yeah.
You got Matt
kind of
Ryan, Julio Jones. You're going to throw the ball.
Yeah, and that's what they did, and they were able to really move the ball well in the Colts secondary. Really picked apart a lot of that zone defense the Colts were throwing out there, and I mean we got to be honest. You know, the Falcons scored pretty much every time they touched the football in the second half. I mean, the Colts had
but we did too.
Offensive, yeah. Well, besides there's the one drive to start the third quarter, which was the first drive of the second half for Indianapolis. That it was the only time they touched the ball in the third quarter, where it was just a 3-and-out. That's when Brissett got sacked, and the Colts ended up having to punt the football. But when it came down to it in the second half, the offense was able to kind of bail out some defensive mistakes. In the fourth quarter especially, had that big, long drive that was capped off by a Marlon Mack touchdown. Atlanta goes right back down and answers, and when you give the ball to Jacoby Brissett with 4 minutes to go, and the Colts were able to pick up a few first downs and run that clock out. And they could have scored more points if they wanted to, but just with the clock situation, they elected to just take a knee, get the game over with. So definitely the offense, outside of one drive, was in scoring position every single time and scored almost every single possession. So it's got to be really encouraging from that standpoint of how the offense played. But defensively, you gave up a lot of yards. Julio Jones really had some big plays in that second half. They had trouble containing him. And to be fair, everyone who plays Julio Jones
120 yards receiving, 8 receptions, 128 yards.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to the Colts defense, everyone who plays Julio Jones has struggles containing Julio Jones.
Sure, he's probably the best receiver in the game right now. I mean, you got to think.
I think so, yeah. I don't think there's any question about it.
He is the best now that Antonio Brown has masterminded his own brain out of the game. He was comparative, but he's figured out a way to kick himself out of the game. You got to look at Julio Jones as probably the most, was it Larry Smith, who's in Phoenix?
I would say probably if you're talking about other top receivers. I think obviously you got to look at Odell. I think he's going to be in the discussion.
Odell. But I think they have quarterback problems now. I think that.
They do. I think
they have a sophomore slump going on right there right now. That guy's. Yeah. Mayfield's just not getting it done for that team. I mean, he's letting that team down right now, and justifiably. I mean, it's hard, to come back and do it. But I think right now he's got more talent on that team that he knows what to do with, and Baker's just kind of struggling right now, and so they need a coach that can just calm him down and get him to play with himself and not play like a big play Ray. He's no Aaron Rodgers, and I think Aaron Rodgers right now is having an MVP year so far.
Yeah, he's been good. I think the other guy you have to put in that conversation too is probably just back in the receiver discussions, DeAndre Hopkins in Houston. The Colts are going to see him twice this year, so he's definitely up in the discussion as well. Elite wide receiver. He's a really special player. But
I think the AFC South is what we thought was going to be a dog conference. All of a sudden, it's gotten real tough.
Yeah, we've got.
I'm going to tell you what, Mayhew down in Jacksonville. I mean, geez. God bless.
Minshew mania they got going on down there.
Minshew, what's his name?
Minshew, Gardner Minshew.
Minshew. Yeah, I mean, Nick Foles out of the frying pan and into the fire. He's right back in another quarterback controversy right now. What do you do when he comes back? I mean, they spent $25 million a year on him to come down there and play, and now you've got a quarterback who's just blowing it out all of a sudden and doing well, and probably making a third or a fourth of the money that Foles is making and playing great football, and all of a sudden they've gotten good. I watched the Houston game. They look strong. I mean, and the Colts look strong. Tennessee looks like the doormat right now. I mean, Mariota's not getting it done in this conference. They've got Tannehill backing him up. How soon do they go to Tannehill? We don't know. And we don't really care. We already beat them down there, which is great, so they're just going to come back and play us in Indianapolis now. We got them out of the way, playing on the road. But all of a sudden, the AFC South is kind of like, wow, this is a pretty competitive division all of a sudden. And, you've got two teams 2-1, and two teams 1 and 2. So it's going to be a dog, and they still have to play each other. I mean, actually, how many conference games has there been? I mean, the Colts played the Titans. That's the only one they've done.
I don't believe anyone's played more than one right now.
Yeah, so they're all
I think all four teams played one conference game. Yeah.
Yeah, so they got to face everybody else twice or once at least, and it's that division, that conference is going to be a dogfight. That division, whatever it is, division or conference, it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah,
so
I think.
I guess I would ask you, would you say right now the Colts are an offensive team or a defensive team? I think I know what your answer is going to be.
Yeah, I don't think you can really make a distinction because I think what they are is a balanced team.
Balanced team. Okay, very fair.
Yeah, and I think you've seen different areas of this team shine from week to week. I think week 1, you can say, and it's not to take anything away from Brissett because he played well week 1, but you really saw the running game shine. They were a running game. Week 2 against Tennessee, you didn't have an explosive offense, but what you did have was a very, very good defense. The defense played very, very well in that game. And in week 3, it's not to take anything away from Marlon Mack and say the running game was bad because it wasn't. It was there. Marlon Mack had a pretty good game, but it was really Jacoby Brissett's arm that kind of carried you. Now, at this point, I would say they're more of an offensive team. I think they've had better offensive performances as a whole. Yeah, as of right now, better offensive performances as a whole than they have defensively because they've looked vulnerable defensively a few times this year, but they've also looked very good. And Atlanta's an explosive offense. Let's be fair. I mean, they can make they can put up a lot of points on a lot of teams with Matt Ryan at quarterback and Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones on the outside. Those guys can put up points.
Devontae Freeman. They've got a lot of talent on that football team. I mean, and they're well coached too. I mean, they're very well coached as well.
Yeah.
So that's a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, they're a very good offense. But I think at this point, if you had to pick one, I would go offense. I think at the end of the year, we'll look back at this team and say, okay, it's a pretty balanced team. They're not having to score 45 points to win or 30 points to win. They can win some dogfights, some shutout or some shootouts, but they can also win some low-scoring games. I think throughout the year. So they've got that balance aspect to them. But definitely, I think offensively, with what Brissett's done, with what the running game has done, I think you've got to say at least through the first 3 games, it's been an offensive, minded game plan for Indianapolis.
And I think definitely the story of the season so far, 3 games into it, is Jacoby Brissett. I mean, I don't know that we could have wished that he would be as consistent and as efficient as he's being. Knowing that but he took over leadership of this team. It runs the team. We just got to I don't see a reason why he would falter because he's playing well within himself. And as long as Frank Reich keeps him playing that way, I think the Colts will be fine. If they try and get out of that frame or that box and try and go Aaron Rodgers on everybody, then I think the Colts will be in trouble. But if they just keep it what they're doing, we got a great tight end core, we got a great running back backfield. We have a strong receiving core now. We have a defense it's bendable, but it hasn't broken yet. So let's see if we can keep it from breaking. I think that the Colts will continue to stack up wins. So anyway, let me go through some of these stats. I found this on Twitter. Colts as a team, second in the NFL in fewest penalties committed. That's on Frank Reich, right? That's on his coaching staff.
Yeah, that's entirely on the coaching staff. That's getting your team disciplined, ready to play. And Frank Reich's talked about that, how he doesn't want to commit stupid penalties. And you look at the other team against Atlanta, right? You caught them jumping off sides a few times. Those undisciplined, shoot yourself in the foot mistakes. The Colts haven't done that. They've been a very disciplined football team. That's a direct reflection of the coaching.
On coach staff, first in the NFL in fewest yards penalized. That goes right along with it. Second in the NFL in active home game winning streaks. You got 7-game winning streak going on at home. Second in the NFL. I don't even know who's first. I don't know. Tied for third in the NFL in consecutive home games, scoring 23 or more points. 9, which is great. Sixth in the NFL and third in the AFC in rushing yards, 450 yards, 449 yards. So our running game is opening up our passing game. Sixth in the NFL in rushing yards per game, averaging 149 yards per game. Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It's just pretty damn good. Let me see here. What else have I got? Fourth in the NFL in third down conversions. 54% of the time. That's a huge one right there.
Yeah.
54% of the time the Colts are converting on third downs. I mean, that's what moves the chains, obviously. Second in the NFL in third and short, less than 4 yards, conversion rate, 91%. Less than 4 yards, 91% of the time the Colts are converting.
That's
the
incredible
running game
right there.
That's incredible. Tied for first in the NFL in fourth down conversion percentage. 100%. Tied for first in the NFL in fourth down. Yeah, 100%. Every time they've gone for fourth down, they've converted it. Seventh in the NFL in red zone percentage, 72.73% of the time they score, either a field goal or a touchdown. 10th in the NFL in average time of possession, keeping the ball, keeping the defense on the field, wearing them out, 30.57 minutes. Tied for fourth in the NFL. And break in and talk about any of these you want to talk about. I'm just reading them off Twitter. Yeah. So if you got a comment on any of these, make a comment, please. 10th in the NFL in average time of possession. Tied for fourth in the NFL. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's a direct reflection of the running game right there. And when you run the football like they have, and that's what I'll say. And just to touch on it, I'm not expecting the Colts to go in and beat a team like Kansas City. But probably the best defense you can play against a guy like Mahomes is keep him off the field. Keep the ball out of that guy's hands for as much as possible.
That's where you beat him,
dominate time of possession and dictate the flow of that game. And I think with the Colts running game, and you talked about it, the time of possession in that game, with how they run the football, that could be big for. Again, I'm not going to say they're going to go in and beat Kansas City because of it, but when you play elite quarterbacks, sometimes the best defense you can play is keep the ball out of those guys' hands. So I think that's another big stat, probably a little underrated stat, but it really reflects in the dominant run game for Indianapolis.
Yeah, tied for fourth in the NFL in most first downs, 72 first downs. That's tied for fourth. First in the NFL in most runs of 50 yards plus. Thank you to offensive line.
Yeah, Quentin Nelson in particular.
It's not like we have a star running back there. We got an offensive line that makes holes.
Yeah,
and we got guys who run hard. So
you got Quentin Nelson.
They make big holes.
Like you said, he's gonna decapitate.
He's gonna kill somebody. We just got to keep Quentin Nelson out of jail before he kills somebody. Tied for second in the NFL in most runs of 20-plus yards. Sixth in the NFL and third in the AFC in rushing yards. Go ahead.
Yep, that's the offensive line, and I think it's Marlon Mack. I think we've talked about the offensive line a ton, and rightfully so. They've got some gamers up there, but I think what I've seen from Marlon Mack is really encouraging because the offensive line is creating holes, but I've seen a lot of plays that I didn't see from him his rookie year or even last year at times, which is he's being very, very patient. Sometimes when he gets the ball, especially his rookie year, if there's a hole, he would go through the hole. If not, he's bouncing out outside trying to get whatever yards he can. This year, what he's done a very, very good job at is he's been patient and let holes develop, and he's been getting tough yards up the middle that way, which was the big question mark on him. We knew he had elite speed. We knew he was a shifty guy, but can he run between the tackles? Because rookie year, all he wanted to do is if there's a wide open hole, go through it. If there wasn't, and bounce it to the outside. Now he does have that patience. It almost reminds me of Le'Veon Bell in a way with how patient he's been sometimes, waiting for the hole to develop and then exploding through it. But he's really
and my answer to that is, Cole, that offensive line is creating holes big enough that you and I could run for a first down.
Yeah.
I'm 60, and you're 19 or 18 or 17. I don't know what your age is. You're
22 now. Come on.
Oh, you're 22 now? Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. You look young for your age. We're both people that could run through those holes and probably get a first down. And that's not taking anything from Marlon Mack. I say that facetiously. But that offensive line is creating holes like there's no tomorrow. First in the NFL in third and 10 plus conversion rate, 50%. So if they've got over 3rd and 10, 50%, that's incredible.
It's Brissett. Yeah, that's a direct
Brissett. That's playing with himself.
You're not running the football on 3rd and 10, really.
I'm not sure Andrew Luck would do that.
Disagree.
I think
Cleveland
Andrew
might disagree with me on that, but good.
I think Andrew Luck might go for bigger plays. You know, he's got T.Y. out there. He wants to throw the ball deeper. I think Brissett is playing well within himself. Second in the NFL in 3rd and short, less than 4 yards, 91%. You get 4 yards and in, 91% of the time the Colts are going to get you your first down. Tied for first in the NFL in 4th down conversion rate. 7th in the NFL in red zone percentage. 10th in the NFL in average time of possession. Tied for 4th in the NFL in most runs, most first downs. Okay, these are things that are repeating themselves now a little bit, so. I just pulled this off of Twitter. Let me see if there's anything new in here. Tied for 4th in the NFL in 10-play drives, which means they're controlling the ball.
Long drive, balance.
Yeah, that's coaching right there. That's incredible balance of using your passing game, using your tight ends, throwing the ball under, taking 7, 8 yards at a time, and just keep moving forward, move the chains. Tied for 1st in the NFL in most touchdowns off of 10-play drives. This is and I could go on and on and on. I have like 5 pages of these. And you can go to the Indianapoliscolts.com and you can pull this stat up. And I'm not going to go through it anymore because we'll take up too much time. But there is like 5 pages of where the Colts are really statistically in the upper echelon of football right now. And I think it's on Frank Reich's shoulders. I think it's on Jacoby Brissett's leadership. I think it's on Marlon Mack's ability to run. I think it's on our offensive line to make holes, and they're making holes. I'd like to see him spend some money on defensively to get more pressure on quarterbacks because we're going to face, Derek Carr. We're going to talk about the Raiders here as we end up the show here and in the game next week. But, Derek Carr is an outstanding quarterback. He's dangerous. Gruden is an offensive mastermind in his own mind. I think he should be back up in the booth, truthfully. I'll tell you what, if that guy's worth $10 million as a coach, I'm worth $3 million as a coach. So I'll take $3 million to go coach the Raiders.
Yeah. Well,
and you get 4. You get 4. I get 3. So whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll take it.
So, but I think the Colts are they're functioning as what I think the Colts are doing right now is functioning as a high-performing team. They're relying on each other. Offense is stepping up. Defense is not breaking. And the running game is solid. The passing game came alive. But it's the first time we've pushed the passing game. We didn't need to push it in the first 2 games. We pushed it here, and it came through with flying colors. Let's hope T.Y. is back. He's got a high ankle sprain, doesn't he?
So no, he's kind of dealing with a calf issue. I don't know the exact nature of it. I don't think they've said exactly what it is. But it's just kind of something he was dealing with all week. Questionable play. They didn't know if he would play, but gave it a go and just tweaked it kind of on that last drive before halftime. And they just, according to T.Y., they didn't want him to come out and play in the second half and risk tearing it, pushing it beyond what he can handle.
Yeah.
And he said he doesn't know about his status for Oakland. He just said if he can play, he'll play. We can talk more about Oakland later, but they're not a great football team. You should be able to beat them without T.Y. Hilton, I would think. So that might be a good game to hold him out if they need to. Make sure he's 100% healthy because you don't want that to be a lingering issue that lasts all year here. No,
you got to get it healed. We're going to need him down the road. Yeah, you got to set him out and get it healed. We got Pascal, we got Campbell, we got Hines, we got Doyle, we got Ebron.
Got to remember though, Devin Funchess is already out.
We've got receivers. And Jacoby is all sharing. He doesn't favor anybody. T.Y. is the man. When he's in there, he caught 8 passes. But everybody else was involved. Doyle caught 4. Hines caught 3. Ebron caught 3. Campbell caught 3. So he's spreading the ball around. Yeah. And I think that's what makes the Colts hard to defend is that you can't just sit there and key on T.Y. Hilton or Eric Ebron and say, these are their two receivers, let's go. Shut these guys down, and we shut their passing offense down. That's not going to happen. So any other thing on the Colts? Go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, is moving forward, you got to remember, Devin Funchess is out already for this team too. He's on IR, but he'll return at some point, probably around November, and that's another receiving weapon for Jacoby Brissett moving forward, big-bodied receiver. I mean, that was another two receiver on this team. So, they're going to get another boost to the passing game whenever he's ready to return, hopefully sooner rather than later. But, obviously a broken collarbone is probably going to miss half the year with that.
Yeah, the more you can spread the wealth, the more you become difficult to guard. And I think that's just true here. And that frees T.Y. up. And like I said, he's an elite receiver in the NFL right now. I mean, he's up there with, all the top guns. He's there. He's in that same category as those guys. And, he only got 65 yards, but we didn't need any more than that out of him because our running game is so strong. Just whenever we get into the red zone, find T.Y. and get him the ball, he's going to catch it.
Well, I believe T.Y. and Julio are both tied atop the NFL for receiving touchdowns at 4 apiece.
Are they?
So that pretty much just goes to show you right there.
Yeah. No, I think, my hope is we hang on to T.Y. He doesn't decide he wants to go somewhere else, And fortunately, Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne never did, and we hope T.Y. stays here too because he's a gem. I mean, and he's a homegrown Colt. I mean, we built him up, and the team built him up from day one. And Andrew had a lot to do with that, and everybody, and so we hope we keep him. Looking forward to Oakland. What do we got with Oakland? What are we afraid of with Oakland? Anything?
It's tough because they haven't looked great the past 2 weeks. I mean, let's just be blunt. Kind of an easy. I mean, they were blown out by the Chiefs, but it's the Chiefs. You kind of expect that. And then they kind of got, beaten just as badly by Minnesota. Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison kind of ran all over them for Minnesota. Kirk Cousins didn't have to do a whole lot, but when he had to throw the football, he was pretty effective. 15-21, 174 yards and a touchdown. Derek Carr actually had a decent game, 27-34, 242, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The big thing with Oakland, I think, is they do have a decent running attack. They can run the ball pretty well, and Indianapolis has kind of been exposed at times. Obviously, against the Chargers, they're exposed. And Devontae Freeman had a good game against Atlanta, so that's something we want to monitor. And kind of how you talked about defensively, and it's not necessarily something we're fearing from Oakland, but it's just kind of something you want Indianapolis to be able to take advantage of, is get after Derek Carr a little bit. The past couple weeks against Kansas City and Minnesota, he's been sacked 7 times. So they've gotten after him at quarterback, and the offensive line has not done a great job of protecting him. And Oakland's kind of banged up along the offensive line coming into the Colts game. So that's going to be an area of concern for Oakland. And the Colts have done a pretty good job through the first 2 weeks of getting pressure on the quarterback. I thought they took a step back against Atlanta, but Matt Ryan's a very good quarterback, got the ball out of his hands pretty efficiently. Derek Carr is not quite that level. I think if the secondary can make him hold on to that football, he'll be an easy sack target with those offensive line issues they have up front. I'm looking at guys like Kamoko Toure, Justin Houston, along that front 7 to kind of get after the quarterback. Denico Autry as well, at the D tackle spot. Get after the quarterback, kind of show that game against Atlanta where they had 0 sacks was a fluke, and make Derek Carr's life miserable, back there throwing the football.
Yeah, and Carr's been sacked 7 times already this season.
Yeah.
So just 3 games.
Only seven in the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
7 in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, he didn't get sacked in the first game, and also 7 sacks. So the offensive line is not giving the protection he needs. And because I live on the West Coast now, and we see a fair amount of Raiders games, he tends to, I don't want to say panic. It's not the right word, but he tends to get disconcerted when he's forced out of the pocket.
Yeah.
He does not hold his composure as well when the pocket forms around him and he's able to step up and throw the ball, then he's dangerous. He's dangerous as all get out. But when you force him out of the pocket, he doesn't scramble well. Is that the phrase to use? His mobility is, and his ability to throw the ball on the run is not where I think it, could be for a quarterback who's heralded as much as he is, and for a coach who's a self-professed quarterback coach.
Yeah, I don't think he's great at avoiding the pass rush either. I think that's something that's really impressed me with Brissett through this early season is he's very, very good at moving in the pocket to avoid pressure, and there's been a lot of near sacks that he's gone away from because of it. And Derek Carr is probably not on that level. And, it's like you said, you just get after him, make him feel uncomfortable, and I think this would be a comfortable win for the Colts. It's going to be – it's the NFL. Any given Sunday, you never know what's going to happen.
Right, you never know.
And like you said, if Derek Carr gets a clean pocket, he can be a dangerous guy at quarterback. I mean, he can really kind of carve you up. Yeah,
he'll carve you to pieces.
You don't want to underestimate them. Just can say, that they've struggled the first 3 weeks, and kind of overlook them, and then you struggle to get pressure on the quarterback, and before you know it, Derek Carr is kind of carving up your defense, and you're, having to play catch-up. You don't want to get into a situation like that. I think after kind of that second-half performance that the Colts gave against Atlanta defensively, hopefully they'll be motivated and want to get after the quarterback and kind of prove that, they can be a force to be reckoned with moving forward. And when they play, Kansas City in 2 weeks, you'd like to see them take that next step defensively because they're going to need all hands on deck defensively when they go into Kansas City and try to stop Patrick Mahomes. That's not going to be an easy task at all. So you'd like to see them step up against a team like Oakland that's struggling. They went through that Antonio Brown saga. They don't have a great wide receiver weapons. Their lone win of the season came against a Denver Broncos team that is frankly looked pretty bad so far this year. They don't look like a great football team right now.
They're not bad. They played tough competition. I mean, they played good teams. They played tough games. I mean, I feel bad for them because I don't think the Broncos are really a bad team. I just think they played very tough games, and they've got a brutal schedule going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, with how I think it's definitely, I don't know if I'd call the Raiders a great team they played, but Bears and Packers are definitely better
that's a rivalry, though. That's a big rivalry game. It's like IU-Purdue in some fashion. So emotion plays a big part in that game.
Yeah, I just look – maybe I might be a little biased here, but I just thought that the Broncos' pass rush would be a lot better than what it's been. When you have Bradley Chubb, when you have Von Miller on the outside, that was kind of the thing you looked at with them and said, okay, that's what's going to make them deadly is they have these, elite pass rushers. But I don't believe they even have a sack all year defensively. I think they're still looking for their
real quick
first sack, I believe. I believe that's kind of been a
Denver Broncos. I'm looking it up right now for you.
Yeah, so I think I just checked. They have not had a sack in either of the first 3 games. So they're still looking for their first sack.
And Flacco's been sacked 11 times.
Yeah, but that's shocking me that you have Bradley Chubb and you have Von Miller on the outside and you have 0 sacks through 3 games. So something is clearly not right there. I mean, that you had that's 2 elite pass rushers, or at least 2 guys are expected to be elite pass rushers, and they just haven't lived up to the hype. Now, I don't want to go off on a tangent about the Broncos, but
you're right.
That just kind of
perplexes me
a little bit.
You're not going to win in the NFL with no sacks. If you're not putting pressure on the quarterback, you're going to get picked apart because the way they protect the quarterbacks these days and the receivers, you're going to get killed. 10 out of 10 times. I mean, it's not even close. So what's the keys offensively to the Colts against Oakland? What do we got to do? Go back to the run game? Stay balanced?
I mean, so here's the good news with Indianapolis, and I think what you can confidently say is, and it's got kind of a bit of a cop-out answer, but just do whatever you have to do. I mean, if they have Jacoby Brissett throw the ball 30 times, you feel pretty comfortable that, hey, you can go do that. If you want to run the ball 30 times with Marlon Mack, you feel pretty comfortable that, hey, you can go out and do that because you've proven
whatever's working for you at the moment.
Yeah.
I played enough golf to know that Sunday. I played enough golf to know Sundays my body just says we're going to fade the ball today, and my body says on other days we're going to hook the ball today or draw it.
Yeah.
And you just adjust your game on the course to say, all right, my body's working in a way today that it's going to draw. So I got to play the course right to left, or I'm going to fade it because my back's sore, my legs are tired, and I'm going to fade everything. So I got to play the course left to right. So I think that's where the Colts are. And that's a great analogy to use, is that you got to look at it now. But the great thing about the Colts to me, and expand upon this, they now have the ability to make that decision where a lot of teams don't have that ability.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. They are really a great team, at least offensively, and pretty much any way they want to play the football. If they want to give Marlon Mack the ball 25 times, that they can do that, and they can dominate the football game doing that. If they want, to have Brissett throw the ball 35 times, as they did against Atlanta, they've proven they can win that way. It's really, the way I think going back to what you were saying about Frank Reich and how the players respect him.
Yeah.
It's something that I read today was that Frank Reich does not like to adjust his play calling really or his play selection for certain teams. That he's pretty consistent with what he likes to call because he thinks teams are going to have to adjust to him. That they have the personnel, they have the ability to make teams adjust to them. They're not going to adjust here for what other teams want to do. And I think that pretty much speaks to Frank Reich as a play caller and the confidence he has in this team in all facets of the team offensively, that if they need to give the ball to Marlon Mack 25 times, they can do that. If they want Jacoby Brissett to kind of throw all over the field and win the game with his arm, at least against Atlanta, he was showing that he could do that. So you have that dual threat, and if you're Oakland and you're turning on film and watching Indianapolis, there's not a glaring weakness you can look at and say, okay, we just need to do this so we can slow down that offense. Or just take away this one thing and we really limit that offense. Because there's not just one area you can key in on. Maybe the first couple weeks it was, okay, let's take away Marlon Mack. Let's slow down that running game. Jacoby Brissett has not proven he's a volume passer that can really take over football games. Well, that's what Atlanta tried to do, and what happened? Jacoby Brissett took over that football game. So they've proven that they can win in almost any way they want to. And that's a very, very dangerous situation to be in as an offense.
Right.
When you can do that, that's just a nightmare game plan for you.
And that's what makes the Colts. That's what makes the Colts such a dangerous team. Is that, like you just said, you can't key on one thing, because right now the Colts are proving to everybody right now, we'll beat you high, we'll beat you low, we'll beat you on the ground, we'll beat you in the air, and we just got to keep our defense. They'll bend, but as of now, they have not broken yet. But and I think that becomes a dangerous team that nobody wants to play. And I think that's where the Colts are right now. Like I said, I'm not sure they're a Super Bowl contender yet. But everything happens. I mean, obviously the biggest test is going to be Kansas City and Mahomes, what they can do to hold him at bay, which I don't know that they can because he's dadgum good.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I watched that game on TV out here. Yeah, he's pretty good. He can make crap happen out of nothing. But we'll see. We'll see. So we're on top, tied with Houston 2-1, AFC South. Nobody expected us to be there at this point in time. We could easily be on top on our own. Our kicker, he had a bad day, and I'm not going to fault him for that. I mean, I'm just saying he had a bad day, and he's recovered, and let's hope it continues and go from there. I think Houston or Oakland's out of sorts all over because they're not going to be playing on baseball field this week. Unless they play the game at Victory Field. We should play the game at Victory Field. That's what they should do.
It's like Oakland, right?
Yeah, like Oakland played at Victory Field. So, but I expect the Colts win. What do you expect?
Yeah, I would be very disappointed with anything less than the Colts win. I think they're just the better team. Going off what Oakland did last week where, Dalvin Cook and that Vikings run game really kind of carved them up, I would probably look for, at least early on, a heavy dose of Marlon Mack. And then the Colts can adjust kind of how they need to based upon, how the game goes.
Yeah.
but definitely I think Indianapolis, this is a game they should win and definitely need to win, because you don't want to go in and drop this easy, a game that should be quote-unquote easy. I mean, none of them are easy, but a game that they're expected to win. Then
it's an expected win for the Colts. We need to win our expected wins. Yeah, we need to win. You don't want to go into Kansas City being 2-2, probably dropping that game to fall 2-3. Then you have a huge home game against Tennessee in the division, Houston in the division. You don't want to be in a situation where you're 5 games into the season and you're looking at what could be a must-win game really on the year. You don't want to put yourself in that situation. Take care of the games you should win, and they'll be fine. And if they play like they have in the first 3 weeks, I think they'll be fine. I mean, they've looked very, very encouraging as a team. I would expect the Colts win. If I had a good prediction on it, I'd go Colts 27, Oakland 14. I would match that. I don't know that I could give a better score than that. I think right now the Colts are in a great position where their backs are not against the wall right now, and we don't want to put it there. You said, we don't go into Kansas City 2-2 because we're likely to end up 2-3. I don't know that we can beat them at their place right now with the way Mahomes is playing. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. That's why you roll the ball on the field and play. But we'll see. But it would be better going in 3-1 and saying we can take a hit and we're still not, our backs are still not against the wall, and then we can get back into it and move forward from there. So, okay, great week for the Colts. The emergence of Jacoby Brissett, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no mistakes. Really, I couldn't find a flaw in anything that he really did. Played within himself. I think Frank Wright coached him within himself. I think they balanced our running game and our defense. Like I said, they bend. But when you're going against Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, you're going to bend. They're going to bend everybody. They're going to break most teams, and they do break most teams. They bent us, but we held. We didn't break. And we lost, Hooker. We lost we didn't have Darius Leonard. So I think it says a lot for the shape of this Colts football team right now, and it's going to be fun. Any final words from you?
Yeah, no, I don't have much of anything other than, what they did in Week 3 was really, and we've talked about it for a couple of weeks, it's what we wanted to see this team do, was they've proven they're a dominant running team. Let's see Jacoby Brissett kind of match that and prove he can win some games with his arm. He did just that. The Colts are always going to be in a tough situation when you lose a guy like Andrew Luck, who's a top, 5 quarterback, maybe even a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. It's always a tough situation, but I feel very, very confident moving forward with Jacoby Brissett based on what I've seen from him through these first 3 weeks. I think they'll be fine long term. He's still a young player, and so he'll continue to improve the more he plays. But between him and Frank Reich and that coaching staff, I think the Colts are in a good position now and a good position moving forward.
And I'm going to throw this out there, and I'll get lambasted for it, but I think right now losing Darius Leonard for 2 weeks, the way Jacoby Brissett is playing, probably hurts us worse than losing Andrew Luck, because I think Jacoby Brissett's playing great football. And our offense is solid. We've got to have Darius back on defense to shore up our linebacking core and solidify our defense. He's our team captain defensively. So I'm going to get lambasted, but I think right now in game 3 of this early season, losing Darius Leonard is probably more critical to this team than losing Andrew Luck the way things are going right now. Now, that can all change in a heartbeat.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I don't think it's a stretch at all to say, if you look at that game against Atlanta, if you put Andrew Luck in there, I don't think you could reasonably expect him to play any better than what Brissett gave you in that game. I mean, he really did not make any mistakes, really, for the most part. Obviously, you can nitpick and say, well, he threw incomplete passes and all that, but he was pretty much as close to perfect as you can realistically get to playing.
He completed his first 16 passes.
Yeah, it took him.
He was 16 for 16 at one point in time. What the hell? What do you want out of the guy?
Yeah,
come on, give me a break.
It was as close to perfect as you can pretty much get playing the quarterback position. And
I don't think Andrew Luck would have done any better. Yeah.
No, I don't think so either. It's like you said, it can completely, in a week, the entire, narrative could change. I mean, that's just how, the game goes.
Right.
But at least right now, you can't really ask for better quarterback play from Jacoby Brissett. I mean, a 7-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I mean, that's phenomenal.
That's got to be one of the tops in the NFL. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah, it's up there.
I didn't go down to that whole litany of lists that it's on Twitter page. Go to Indianapoliscolts.com, pull it up, and you'll see the entire list of everything where the Colts are statistically significant in every category right now. They're playing good football, and that's on Frank Wright and his coaching staff's shoulders. They're getting the job done and getting these players ready to play football, and they're playing within themselves. And as long as they continue to do that, they're going to be fine. We may not win glamorously, but we're going to win. And I think the Atlanta game was a perfect example of that. We didn't blow them out. We struggled, but we stayed our course, stayed the ground, and did well. Okay, I'm going to do this. I brought us in. You close us out.
Oh, boy, here we go. Well, I think that'll pretty much do it for us on the Colts Weekly Show. We'll be back doing it again next Tuesday, hopefully covering an Oakland Raiders victory, or Indianapolis Colts victory over the Oakland Raiders, and we can help preview that huge matchup with Patrick Mahomes. Not sure they can limit him, but we'll see him at least try. But, I think that'll pretty much do it for us. I'm Cole Hanna, Steve Grizzly, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Goodbye, folks.